You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Hello, I'm Steven Willis from the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. He is Zach Berry from the Ole Miss Spirit, from the flagship podcast. If you are not a subscriber to that one, hit that one as well. You get all the Zach Berry that you can handle. And by the way, I do want to apologize for the way I'm dressed, everybody that's watching this video. I am trying to put good vibes into the universe that Detroit will trade Tarek Skubal to Baltimore for several prospects. That's what I'm trying to do today.
I thought you were just a big fan of the critically acclaimed television show, The Detroiters.
Hey,
I don't know if you're familiar. It's fantastic.
Really, that is pretty good. I do have an autographed ball of Al Kaline back there, and That's
pretty good too.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm looking forward to their offense. By the way, Zach, is painful to watch at times. There'll just be games where Detroit plays a 2-hour and 2-minute game because nobody can hit the baseball.
It's like super simming a game.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Anyway, we brought you in here this week because this weekend is Juice Fest. The dead period ends, I guess, Wednesday or Thursday. Fairly soon the dead period ends, and then Juice Fest and all the cookouts are going to happen. All the big stars, they're trying to get them on their campus, and this might be the last year that there is a July Juice Fest because next year it goes all dead period in July.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because it seems like the timeline for a lot of prospects now has moved up dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
More times than not. Now, there's still some dudes that want the drama, or maybe it's not the drama. Maybe they just don't know, and they're just going to put it on the back burner until their high school season's done. But a lot of the guys the last couple cycles have been wanting to get a commitment out of the way and focus on their senior season and just being a kid and having fun. So that'll be interesting if the entire month of July is dead. But that just gives us more time to talk ball, and that's just an extended talking season with media days all in July.
Yeah, which, by the way, needs to come to an end. I am just about out of material as fall camp's about to start.
Yeah. You can usually get some good 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks out of media days with just all the quotes and storylines, and then everybody wants to argue about the media picking the all conference teams. That's, you can always do that. From what I gathered, I wasn't able to go because of some logistical childcare issues, stayed home, but it seemed like it was a pretty tame media days. There wasn't, outside of Kiffin dunking on Feinbaum, there really wasn't anything crazy unless I missed something. I feel like it was a pretty vanilla media days.
Listen, whenever Feinbaum did his thing, my manager at Locked On said, "Hey, Steve, I need 6 minutes of a video out of you on this." And it's like, what? This is something they've done this 3 times. This is happening. It's like, yeah, I need 6 minutes. I was like, okay.
It's weird because for the longest time, I thought it was a bit. I thought Feinbaum was just poking fun at Kiffin just to, have something to laugh about. Now I'm not so sure. Now it feels like it's kind of personal. And Kiffin clapped back at him pretty good, and that was that was funny.
The I don't know what you're good at line. My goodness.
As the kids would say, that goes crazy.
That's nuts.
I couldn't believe he said that to him to his face.
In his house, on his show.
Yeah. But hey, no filter.
Yeah, pretty fantastic. So Juice Fest is this weekend, and Ole Miss is going to have several prospects on their campus for Juice Fest. There are going to be several prospects that Ole Miss have a really good shot at getting that is not going to be at Juice Fest because they just were on campus. What's the general layout of Juice Fest? What are you expecting?
Some visitors have been confirmed. I know of 2 commits. Hayden Bradley, Jacoby Hobson will be in town. I assume more commits will be in attendance as well. We've got a couple confirmed visitors that I've spoken with who tell me they will be in town. We've got Trey Kinkle, kind of an under the radar running back out of Holly Springs. I haven't seen him in person. I don't know anyone that's had a stopwatch or a laser on him, but he looks to be every bit of 4.3, 4.4. He will be in town. Ty Mims is another one that's very interesting. Really electric dude out of Baldwin County in Alabama. Saw him at OT7 in Tampa last month, and he's as advertised. It was, look, it's 7-on-7. It's not real football, but he was out there amongst some of the best in the country, and he was making people look silly. He will be in town. That's one to keep an eye on. I think that he could be close to making a commitment. He told me as much last week. He really likes Kelvin Bolden. He really likes George McDonald. He thinks the offense is a great fit. And I think this weekend is possibly, him kind of doing that final interview type thing where he's going to see if everything is above board and what's what. And maybe he makes the call. I really like him. I haven't seen him in pads, but he is special in the 7-on-7. He's really good in space, good hands too. Plays with Deuce Knight and that Coastline Stars team, so he's familiar with Mississippi. So that's it for now in the 25 class. I will probably get the full list. You know how it goes, Steven. We'll probably get it right after we're done here, but we'll have that all for you at omspirit.com. A couple 26 guys that DJ Williams, a wide receiver out of Carrollwood Day in Tampa, that might ring a bell. That's where one Michael Trigg went to high school. Very talented.
Right down the road.
Very talented 4-star. And then Ryder Lyons is an interesting one, a 26 quarterback out of Folsom over in California. Top 15 prospect in the 26 class. SC, Oregon, Ole Miss are the early programs that have his eye. He will be in town. So yeah, I'm expecting a huge group. And like I said, when I get that list, we'll have it for you over at the Ole Miss Spirit. But yeah, it's going to be fun. It's typically a laid back kind of cookout vibe, and then they'll do some guys they want to work out, some guys they want to see throw. Like I would imagine Ryder Lyons is going to throw. They're probably going to want to see him. I know Charlie Weiss has been out there to see him, but I'm sure the rest of the offensive staff is going to want to get some eyes on him. But yeah, it's pretty standard when it comes to these big summer blowouts. With Juice Fest, you've got the Big Cat Weekend. I don't even know if Alabama even had a special name for it, but it was always just, going to the lake house with Saban. So yeah, this is
probably
the time.
just like Alabama cookout.
Yeah. It's the time of year when everybody's fighting over, who is going to host who, when these dudes are either uncommitted or they're committed and other people are trying to flip them. So it's a fun time of year. It's quite frenetic, but it's fun.
Yeah, and I had Brian Smith on my show last week, and we talked about Ryder Lyons. He's the Locked On recruiting guru, and he was talking about body type. He has everything that you would want. Whenever he throws the ball, it's just a situation that you're like, wow, it's almost like a Chad Kelly thing when the ball leaves his hand. And he was quick to point out they do not mess around. The whole family does not mess around. So if he's visiting Ole Miss, he is interested in Ole Miss. It isn't just something, hey, I'm in the Southeast, let's find a place to go to cook out and have a good time for our tour. But as he does it, if Ole Miss is getting a visit at this point, they are at least in his expanded universe.
Yeah, and look, I think we'll probably get into it here in a moment, but right now I believe Ole Miss is Deuce Knight or no one.
Yep.
The way the quarterback
and they should be, honestly.
Yeah, the way the quarterback room is, you're not hard pressed to get a 25 guy. Yeah. And they know who they want, and they're going to try to get Deuce Knight. They're going to try to flip him. If they don't, it's fine. It's not panic time because you got Walker Howard, you've got Austin Simmons, you got AJ Maddox, so you've got talent in that room. Maybe this is that kind of situation where they bring rider lines in, do all of the, corporate stuff, sit down with the family, talk shop about school and what life is like as a student athlete at Ole Miss, what is provided to you as a student athlete. Then they go see him on the field, get him out there, let him spin it. So yeah, could this be a situation where it's, hey, let's ramp up 26 and let's get our guy early? Because as you know, Steven, in recruiting, more times than not, quarterbacks get it out of the way early so they can try to build around them. So that could be the case. Like I said, SC, Oregon, Ole Miss, Florida State, Auburn, there's some of the early names. And with Lions taking a trip over to Oxford and having interest in Auburn, it seems distance is not a factor. He's going to go where he thinks he has the best opportunity to play and get to the NFL.
So we got the Juice Fest. We got, players might be there, they might not. But what recruiting surprises could pop in the next couple of weeks for Ole Miss?
Ooh, it's a good question because it's pretty straightforward at this point. With Ole Miss is kind of, hey, we want these, 6, 7 guys. They're all committed somewhere else. So I think the staff is chipping away at a lot of guys. I think some of the notable ones I've already talked about. Deuce Knight. I think Jamarian Morrow is another one, running back out of Memphis, committed to Missouri. Kind of caught everybody off guard. Talking to some people around the Memphis area and then talking to people in the industry, I don't think anybody really expected that. He went to Columbia, had a great visit. I don't think that one's over at all. Every time I talked to Jamarian, he always talked about the importance of being close to home. He's got a younger brother that he wants to be close to. And, Columbia is it's not super far away, but it's not Ole Miss close.
Yeah, it's not Oxford.
And Ole Miss covets him. The plan was always to take multiple running backs. This isn't an AK Deer or someone else. Ole Miss always planned on taking multiple running backs, and they were very upfront with Jamarian Morrow, with Shekai Mills-Knight, with AK Deer about it. And I've talked to all three, and they're all very receptive to that. I think those guys know the deal with running backs these days. Hey, I want to have some tread left on the tires when I get done with college. If I go to Ole Miss, I'm going to be rotated. I'm going to stay fresh. I'm not just going to be pounding the rock 35 times a game. Caleb Cunningham's the big one, committed to Alabama. That was kind of the worst kept secret in recruiting for a long time. He was essentially tweeting and doing stuff on social media as if he was already committed. That was going to be tough. Kalen DeBoer, I was telling people a couple weeks ago, for all the folks that doubted him and thought, who is this guy? He was at Washington. Now he's at Alabama. There's no. Dude's a hell of a coach. All he does is win. Now he's in an SEC program with plenty of NIL. Alabama hadn't skipped a beat. So that one's going to be tough. Now, Cunningham was very receptive to his first meeting with George McDonald. They hit it off. He knows about the NFL lineage that Ole Miss has at the wide receiver position. And, of course, Lane Kiffin is there. So that one's going to be tough. I don't think it's over. Cunningham has been pretty honest about, hey, I want to go and see places. I want to go and talk to people. I want to get out there. So I don't think he's going to shut it down by any means. Will he show up this weekend in Oxford? We'll see. Some people think he's going to go to Alabama for their big blowout. I know Tennessee's trying to get him in town. Ole Miss is trying to get him in town. So that one's going to be a dogfight. And then you've got the two offensive linemen and Tyler Miller, Mario Nash. Miller's at LSU, Nash at Mississippi State. If Ole Miss is going to have a shot at one of them, I would lean Nash. I think Miller's pretty locked in with LSU right now. His mom is a huge fan of Brad Davis. They did a really good job with him up front, and I think his family was very receptive to the plan that they have for him. So that one seems to be a tall task. But Nash could be kind of one of those that could be a class casualty for Mississippi State if the season goes south. I think that there are going to be a lot of prospects that they're going to watch some games, see how things are trending. Another one in that camp, I think, sticking in Starkville, Steven Willis, really talented edge guy. I think he's another one that could kind of leave the door ajar slightly for Ole Miss. And then
Great last name.
yeah, he's and he's impressive. He looks the part. He's a get off the bus first type. And then Malik Autry committed to Auburn. He's been committed forever. He loves Randall Joyner, loves Pete Golding. If Ole Miss can get him back on campus, that could get interesting. Auburn's got the clamps on him though. And then the last couple ones, really want to keep an eye on Carson Lawrence, safety out of Macaulay School in Chattanooga. Is committed to Vandy. He's been committed for a while. He's looking to kind of make a final decision of, am I going to stick with Vandy or am I going to reopen things up before his senior season? He's got a lot of P4 interests. He's taken visits. He loved the culture at Ole Miss. He was a big fan of just the overall environment in the locker room. Ole Miss preaches about pro mindset, and I think a lot of prospects are starting to see like, oh yeah, that's real. Like people come here, you're treated like a pro and you prepare like a pro. I think that was big for him. So he's, don't let the committed to Vanderbilt fool you. He can play. Saw him last year in the Division II AAA title game. He looks every bit the part of a P4 defensive back. And then Elijah Melendez, linebacker from Florida, committed to Miami. A lot of people thought he would end up in the SEC, whether it be Oklahoma, Ole Miss, or Auburn. Miami stepped up to the plate. Mario Cristobal and the NIL over there in Miami got it done. So he's sticking with the Canes for now. And then one more interesting guy, saw him at OT7. He fits kind of what Kiffin likes to do with his backs and with his slot guys. As Dwayne Morris, he's from Oakland High School in Murfreesboro, committed to SC. He still talks to Ole Miss. He likes Kevin Smith. So that's to kind of – that was a long-winded way of answering your question. I don't really think there are any shockers right now. I know Ole Miss kind of blew everybody away with the Cortez Thomas commitment earlier this month. I think everybody had him pegged going to Mississippi State. But outside of that, right now, I think, outside of, Deuce Knight showing up and flipping, I don't think there are any surprises right now. Everything's kind of out in front of you when it comes to Ole Miss recruiting.
Do you want to hear my conspiracy theory?
Okay.
My completely ridiculous conspiracy theory that is probably 99% false, but that 1% means I can't discount it.
Okay.
Ole Miss gets a surprise commitment from Cortez Thomas. About that same time, Mississippi State essentially found out they were out of it with Caleb Cunningham. I do believe that somebody under the table set it up to where Caleb Cunningham would commit to Alabama and not to Ole Miss because that was not going to happen.
Yeah. Not a lot of stuff is under the table these days, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
I could see, it's funny that regardless of the head coach or who the AD is in Starkville, it seems to always be, especially with recruiting,
it's the same playbook.
Either we get him or you don't. So a lot of playing defense and recruiting with Mississippi State. And look, who can blame them? You wouldn't want Caleb Cunningham in a Lane Kiffin offense if you have to play him every year. But yeah, I'm gonna have to let that marinate and think about it. I don't really know if there are any surprises. I think we know what Kiffin's gonna do in the portal. He's gonna always be in the portal. But these past couple years, these past couple cycles, they've been hitting high school hard, and they find the 16, 17 to 20 guys that they really like, and they go after them. But they're not gonna, the days of the Houston Nutt 35-man signing class, that's not going to happen with Kiffin. It doesn't really happen very often anywhere outside of some lower level P4 or G5 schools. So, I know that's not what fans want to hear. They want to know about the 4 and 5 stars that are committing, but that's just kind of how Ole Miss operates now. They're going to take their shots with some big fish, and then if they don't get them, they'll go to the portal and find someone that's 20, 21 years old and has played a couple years.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first and listen every day. When we come back, we're going to have to deal with Zach and his slander over Twisters over the last couple of days. You're not going to want to miss this. We'll also talk a little Deadpool. We're going to get off topic a little bit, so bear with us. But Game Time is the place to get your Ole Miss tickets. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Ole Miss tickets. They have the views from every seat in Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. You can check it out before you buy. They have the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. Take the guesswork out of buying Ole Miss tickets with Game Time, and this being the most anticipated season in Ole Miss history, I might be able to help you out with getting tickets. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? You have to turn down the volume with all of that shouting. Make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you each and every single day to bring you the biggest stories without all of that screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And Locked On is going to be adding 2 more 24/7 streaming channels on the NFL and on college sports. So if you're interested in seeing yours truly, I'm going to be there as well. So Zach, I go over to the Ole Miss Spirit from time to time and I have a good time, and you generally put a movie review and all that on the board, and you do that. And I check what's going on. And then you put a review of Twisters on the board. And that was exciting because full disclosure to everybody, Twister was one of my favorite movies growing up. Whenever the original came out, favorite movie ever. I was excited for this movie, and I went and saw the movie, and I'm gonna be honest, I loved it. I had a great time in the theater watching that. The CGI and everything just blew my mind for a disaster movie. It was famous. Heck, it made $120 million or something like that in the first weekend. It did all right. Zach, what happened, man?
Look, I'm with you. I saw it. This is probably one of the, I'm not going to say I have the best viewing experience, but in my younger days, I had a double feature at the summer drive-in in Memphis, Independence Day and Twister back to back at the drive-in. Incredible. Love the movie Twister. My wife and I watch it all the time. It's kind of a background noise movie. It's like a weird comfort film where it's a disaster movie, but it's just comforting. It's just a classic. Matter of fact, the late, great Philip Seymour Hoffman would have been 57 today, and just amazing in that movie. By the time the movie was almost over, Steven, I was laughing. I had so many people on the board that, like, you had to have known what you were getting yourself into, and I did. I really didn't have any expectations. It's hard to replicate or make a sequel of a classic, a movie like Twister that is basically universally loved. I thought the script was bad. Some of the one-liners were cringy. And I don't think this was any fault of the actors. I thought the acting was fine. It's not like I was bugged by any performance. I just kind of expected a little bit more. And now, visual effects, phenomenal. I can't remember who it was I think it was on our board, or it might have been somebody I was talking to about this movie. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty dumb. Why in this movie? They're in Oklahoma and there's tornadoes and all the civilians are running around like they don't know what to do. If you live in Oklahoma, you know what to do when there's a tornado. That was kind of ridiculous, but I don't know. I mean, Glenn Powell was fine. I'm not like hating on him or Daisy Edgar Jones. I thought that everybody was pretty solid. It's kind of weird to see Kiernan Shipka all grown up if you're a fan of Mad Men. But yeah, it just didn't do it for me. And we saw it in, like, I don't know are you familiar with Screen X? Have you ever seen a movie in Screen X?
Whatever that is called. I probably saw it in the same version of that on a different chain.
So it's basically like a huge screen, and then it basically goes around the walls to your left, to your right. Pretty awesome viewing experience. When the movie first started, I was worried it was going to bug me. It's almost like, some people don't like subtitles because you kind of have to you can't watch the show, you got to read. But I thought it was cool, especially for this kind of movie. Visually, it was very appealing. I don't know. I'm not I don't want to just say that it was a complete flop and it sucks and I want my money back, but just maybe me being such a big fan of the original, I wanted it to be better. I wanted a little more from it. But yeah, I was excited. I mean, we got the babysitter all lined up, got the tickets, a week in advance. We were fired up, and I was let down.
Well, here's the thing. You were talking about cringy one-liners. That's kind of the brand, man. That was going to happen. It's cows. I think that was the same one. I mean, that's the franchise, man.
Now, I did like a couple of callbacks. They didn't do a lot. I kept waiting on Helen Hunt to show up.
Yes, Helen Hunt should have been her mom. Should have been.
So I was hoping they should have not shown her mom until the very end, where she goes home and then the door opens and it's Helen Hunt. That'd have been great. But Glenn Powell driving a red Dodge, perfect. Love that. As soon as the tornado broke into two, I was sitting there and I was like, somebody has to say twins. We've got twins. They did that. And then I don't know if you noticed, Daisy Edgar Jones, the female lead, they dressed her very similar to Helen Hunt.
Yes, that's the point where I thought there's okay, there's no way that this isn't. And I didn't really like the way that they kind of messed with the emotions on that one, because everybody was expecting it, and then they did the silhouette like a true crime documentary, and when she came into the light, it wasn't her, and it was like, okay, that was kind of a cheap trick. The other one is drilling into the airport. That one was dumb.
Federal offense. But hey, good on Paul Scheer for getting a little 5-minute scene there. The security guard at the airport. What are you doing? Leave.
But honestly, Zach, I probably smiled the whole 2 hours that movie was on. Seriously. I
mean, it was entertaining, but bad movies can be entertaining. And normally I like that. I enjoy a good, turn your brain off, let's just get silly type movie. But I think it's more of just, I love Twister and I wanted it to be really, really good. And it just didn't.
It was the Indiana Jones effect. To where the last two movies you were not going to like no matter what, no matter how good it was, because of what you were expecting and the love for the early three.
Yeah, a little. Now I will say I didn't hate the Dial of Destiny.
Dial of Destiny is my good luck movie. I've seen that movie probably 35 times. You talk about, seriously, I have. Ole Miss having a big recruiting weekend, I will cut it on Saturday just to have it on, because every time it comes on, Ole Miss gets a commit or something good happens. So it's a joke amongst loomers that I have to watch that movie on a big recruiting weekend.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed that movie.
Harrison Ford's so old and he still pulled most of it off. Now, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull sucked. That was bad.
That was hot take. That movie was bad because of Shia LaBeouf.
and he's typically great in everything.
Yeah, but whenever he did the swinging on the vines and all that, it was over. It was over.
Yeah, maybe I need to rewatch Twisters, but I enjoyed the flip of, in the original, it's the corporate big money white collar chasing, following the blue collar. Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt, their whole crew. Yeah. The corporate guys are all following them. In this one, it's flipped, where it's kind of like Glenn Powell and the rough and tough crew are following what the corporate people are doing. But then they do this whole thing about, Glenn Powell. I don't remember the line, but he's like, we don't have all the money and the fancy PhDs. And then like 20 minutes later, he's like, well, yeah, I went to school and got a degree. It's like, come on, man, just like make up your mind. But he had one line that I burst out. I laughed out loud in the theater when he says, if you can feel it, you can ride it. And just talking about a weather event, like you can't ride a tornado, dude. I know this is,
but he's a tornado wrangler.
That was just.
I think they did a really good job, and people don't realize this, they don't see that, but they did a really good job of when the camera was on and he was live streaming, making him fake and almost a cartoon version of who he really was. And they did a good job of that.
That was a good play on like current society. And, I big golf guy. I watch a lot of golf on YouTube, and, the whole like, hey, welcome back to the channel. Like, that type of like golf influencer, like a tornado influencer. I thought that was good. Just the whole, like, your on air voice, like when you're on camera, you got to act like this. But yeah, I mean, just like the auger into the ground where you don't get like.
Well, that's the other thing from that movie.
Someone's going to try to do that now and is going to die.
Yeah. But the whole playing that is like everybody in that movie died by getting sucked up in the air to the tornado. They did do that.
Yeah. I will say I appreciated they didn't beat around the bush with the will they or won't they with the love interest.
It was no politics, no social commentary, no real romance in this whole movie. Seriously.
It was, but like
it was like an 80s turn your brain off movie.
Yeah, I thought it was very obvious though that like, yeah, they're gonna eventually get together. But they didn't it wasn't super cheesy and dramatic throughout the movie where we have this huge struggle or this, big fight. Like, no, just make it about the tornadoes. That's all you really need.
Yeah, and it's sitting here it's like, hey, there's a tornado coming, get into this pool. And I was like, what? But it was like,
gotta grab those pipes.
Yeah, it's like, what? Oh, okay, and now I see what you're going on.
Yeah.
But how did she see that from inside? By the way, that was Bill Paxton's son, was the man complaining at the hotel.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. See, okay, here it is, Steven. If Glenn Powell had taken his belt off to wrap around that pipe in that pool, it would have been great.
Yeah.
They dropped the ball.
Yeah, that movie could have had a little bit more nostalgia.
Yeah, but look,
if
you're looking for entertainment and to have fun, I'm not going to say that's not going to do it for you because it was entertaining.
Yeah, that last weekend and this weekend's going to make all the money because Deadpool and Wolverine, that's going to make $1 billion.
Yeah, and in honor of the Tour de France just wrapping up, I think Inside Out 2 started their sprint a little early because Inside Out 2 made like Blue Dune 2 out of the water opening weekend. I think these two are gonna, they might triple them.
Yeah, and just Wolverine wearing the yellow, and people that aren't comic book people, they don't understand. They're not going to understand that joke, but people are going to seriously take that as a big deal.
Yeah, and Ryan Reynolds is always really good in these movies. Something's gonna come out of left field that you're not expecting, that's not been leaked, that's not been talked about, nothing's been hinted at. There's gonna be some kind of ridiculous cameo or some character that's the Brad Pitt,
yes,
was phenomenal. He's gonna do something like that that's gonna be great. So yeah, everything he does is awesome. I'm a huge fan of Welcome to Wrexham. I can't recommend that enough. I don't know if you've seen it. That's great. I memean, Deadpool. I thought Free Guy was hilarious. If you've ever played a video game, you should watch it because it's perfect. Yeah, Deadpool versus Wolverine is going to be incredible.
Yeah, I've already bought my ticket Saturday at 4:30, I'll be in the theater to see that one. It should be a whole lot of fun. You said you had to still had to work up a babysitter.
Yeah, and now that I think about it, we might try to go to like a matinee during the week because it won't be as crowded. Because this weekend is just going to be insane.
Yes.
This is the type of weekend where you better be in your assigned seat. Because if you're not, somebody's going to tell you to get up.
Listen,
it's going to be packed.
I went in there and prepaid. I bought 3 of us are going to the movie. I bought 5 seats. I bought a seat on either side of us so it could be open. But seriously.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't want to be crowded, and I'm a very, very claustrophobic type person, so it can kind of come in on me a little bit. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of manufacture a little bit of space.
Yeah, I don't hate the assigned seating. The only time I don't like it is when the theater is completely wide open and someone comes and sits directly next to you just because that's their assigned seat. Just go 1 row back or 1 row up. Like, you don't have to do that if there's 4 people in the theater.
Listen, one of the coolest things, there's a theater in Lake Wells, Florida that I go to from time to time, and it is an old school theater. Like, it's not even elevated on the seats. It's the old style that you remember theaters being from your childhood if you're that old. And we went in to see like Ghostbusters Afterlife. And it's like, hey, let's just go down there and see that and walk in there. It's like, oh, this is an absolutely old, just a throwback. Going to see Ghostbusters in this theater. There was 4 people in that theater, and 3 of them was my group. And it was fantastic. It was one of the best movie going experiences I've ever had.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of going to movies solo. I love to do that. Like I did it all the time when I would travel for work. If I had either a free afternoon or maybe a light morning, I didn't have to do anything until late afternoon, I would go to a movie by myself. I think it's cathartic as hell. It's fantastic. There's no shame in that. Don't be afraid to go to a movie by yourself. Go do it.
Anytime I talk to a young person that's doing the whole mentor type thing, and they're asking about podcasting or whatever they're doing, and they're saying, what's the first thing I need to do? And I was like, be okay with being alone. And I don't mean like physically. You need to be able to be by yourself and not get stir crazy. Once you learn how to do that, you can start learning how to do the other things, and you'll be better at them. But if you're constantly worried about, hey, my friends are going out to the club. I need to go get my girlfriend to go do this or something else, you're going to be distracted on absolutely everything, and you're not going to be able to accomplish what you want. So you're right. Being alone is of the utmost importance. And I would say that probably that most successful people are completely okay with being alone.
Yeah. When I travel a lot, I got very used to eating alone. I didn't care. Just put some AirPods in.
It's awesome.
Listen to a podcast, listen to a book, or just sit in silence. When you have kids, silence is golden. Who cares? The whole like fear of, well, if people see me eating by myself, what are they going to think? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. What was it? I think it was Winston Churchill that had the quote from back in the day, is like, whenever I was in my 20s, I was constantly worried that people were judging me with what I was doing. And as the 40s, it's like, I thought maybe they were looking at me for what I was doing. And when I was 60s, I realized they were never looking at me to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Who cares? Somebody sees you eating by yourself. I like it.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Anyway, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Zach Berry from the Ole Miss Spirit. What you got going on, buddy?
Man, just, Juice Fest this weekend. I'm pretty sure our whole crew will be there. I'll be in town. Ben, Jake, Chuck, I imagine we'll all be there at some point. Doing a lot of interviews. There'll be a lot going on. I was going to say, be okay with being alone, but this weekend will not be that. There will be a lot going on in Oxford. And yeah, just getting ready for the fall. We'll probably start doing our kind of schedule preview on the show. I'll have different experts, industry folks from, every P4 opponent for Ole Miss. And then, before you know it, the season will be here. We'll have all of our regularly scheduled programming back. Everybody's favorite, the Legal Gambling Council will be back. We'll be giving you all the tips on what lines to take every week, all of that stuff. We had a big year last year. We did very well. So we were up quite a few units. We're looking to do better this year. So we will have tons of podcasts for you during the season. We'll pretty much have one every day. But yeah, just trying to stay on top of recruiting and keep up with what's going on as we get ready for fall camp.
Have they announced when fall camp is going to start? What day?
I have not heard. A lot of people are starting next
Around
week.
the 30th? Yeah, it's sometime next week.
Yeah, I think typically camp begins August, first week of August. I know last year it was the first week of August. Yeah, it'll probably be, if it's not next week, because I know August starts on a Thursday. Maybe it'll start on the 5th, but we'll once we get official word, we'll let you know. But
yeah, since the first game is the 31st, I figured it would be the end of July. Like,
could be.
Yeah,
they could do
at least the helmets and no pads, like just the acclimation days.
Yeah, just shells. They might start that Thursday, Friday. But yeah, it'll be here before we know it.
All right, Zach, buddy. Enjoy Deadpool and enjoy Juice Fest, and have a good one, man.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you.